Hello, and welcome to Ask Me About K-Pop, the essential guide for recent converts and seasoned fans alike. My name is Shannon. I am one of the hosts of this program, and the other host is also my best friend, and she is across the table, and her name is Angelica. Angelica, how are you?
I'm great, Shannon. How are you doing?
Doing wonderful. Excited. It's another K-pop day, and everything is good. So this week, following up on last week, we're going to talk about the so-called second generation, or otherwise known as the golden age of K-pop. Again, like we mentioned last week, the barriers of these generations are highly debatable. I think what we will try to stay in today is like 2003 to 2008, 2009 is the most accepted definition. But other people also, and I can see the point, want to extend the second generation till 2013 because that's when Psy like really hit it big, which, you know, could symbolize like another era of K-pop. But that means that EXO and TVXQ are the same generation, and that seems wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it just depends on the parameters that you are or that you're using to differentiate between the generations. Because we mentioned that the end of the first generation was when BoA came on the scene, because BoA was like the first artist to gain international acclaim. And then the second generation is like that is sort of the defining characteristic of these groups.
This is the Hallyu wave.
Right. They are actually getting attention outside of Korea. And then Psy, I think the reason people argue that the third generation should come from Psy is because in that same vein, Psy is the one who gets for the first time like complete global recognition.
Yeah.
So to like blow it up even further on the world stage is like, so it kind of depends on what you're sort of going for as your.
But I think if you're like, I think that stopping it at 2009 sort of makes sense, because I do feel like the groups that start debuting after that, like training times is longer, like just we'll get into it in another episode. I don't want to talk too much about
the quote unquote
third generation yet. So we're just going to talk about this second generation, and we probably will like get outside of 2009, because arguably, like, especially in the case of like TVXQ, Girls' Generation, Shiny, whatever, some of their biggest hits are like 2011, 2012. Like their popularity, of course, goes on past this. Like the generation, I feel like counts, it's like counting debut stages, like groups that debut within this chunk of years or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of groups. Just for reference's sake, in the previous episode we did about the first generation, the English Wikipedia page had 31 groups debuting in that 9-10 year span. And then the Wikipedia for the 2000s, 174 groups. So the industry is basically like exploding at this point, and the market is now saturated with.
Absolutely. The K-pop groups that are the sheer volume of groups that are debuting, like as you move through each generation, it just grows exponentially. It's really, it happens so fast.
Yeah. And like we said, this particular boom happened because BoA and Rain are selling stuff outside of South Korea. BoA's second album was a Japanese album, and it sold 1 million copies in 2003. And it was like, oh, wow. Like there's something here. Yeah. So I think it sort of like lit a fire under all of these like companies' asses of like how like there's money to be made outside of the country here. So like, what do we do to make this the coolest shit like ever for everyone? So it definitely, it's kickstarting a new era. Like things are going to be different now because there's money to
the stakes are higher.
Yes, the stakes have been raised. So I don't know, where do we even start like, do we just start about like talking about some of the early, should I like list what some second generation groups are?
Just go call out some groups, maybe like chronologically.
Okay.
And then if someone, catches our eye, we
Sure.
can talk a little bit about their like concept or some of their music videos.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So first in 2003, we got TVXQ, which is a huge, huge thing.
I have to say, like, watching 5-member TVXQ videos upsets me. Like, I don't like it. I don't.
Do you not? Is it that you don't like the other 3, or you just like don't like that this thing like existed without you, and you like you don't want to go back to a time? Like, I feel like I have a hard time with 12-member, because I didn't come into EXO when there were 12 of them. So like going back to like when there are missing members feels odd.
12-member EXO doesn't bother me because I know and appreciate each of the 12. But 5-member TVXQ is like strangely off-putting to me. One, because I don't know 3 of the members at all. I have like not
JYJ is
invested
not
any
familiar
time
to you.
of they're not TVXQ to me. Like,
Right.
they don't matter.
I don't
to
know
me
them
at all. But also, like, I don't know. I feel it makes me like sad to watch, and then like know that it's gonna cause Yuno and Changmin so much heartache.
pain. I know.
I like look at their baby faces, and I just like want to protect them from this struggle. And also, so much of 5-member TVXQ is like painfully embarrassing to watch. Like that balloons video that I made you watch.
Yeah.
It's like it's a little cringy.
Their debut video for the song "Hug" is also like pretty. I really liked seeing Yuno in a football uniform with his original teeth. I was surprised to see those.
Yeah.
But now everybody at this point, everybody's hair has like stopped being bangs and is now just like
very
like a helmet.
Voluminous
like you can just
helmet hair.
Yeah, like it completely surrounds your whole face, like
like the Speed Racer helmet.
Yes,
it's the shape of the Speed Racer helmet.
I couldn't find more information about this, but TVXQ debuted on like a BoA Christmas special. Like,
yes, because that video that you sent me of them singing "A Holy Night" and they take like 20 minutes to harmonize the beginning. I honestly, that's an exaggeration, clearly, but like it takes them so long to actually start singing the song. I didn't watch the whole thing because it was rough.
Yeah, so that's kind of odd, but like also kind of interesting that I also saw it. I couldn't find more information, which bothered me. But Wikipedia said that this was a BoA and Britney Spears special, and I was like, "What?
Yes,
Where's Britney though?"
Britney was nowhere to be seen, so I have many questions.
No idea about what that was about.
I'll call and ask.
But yeah, TVXQ was created definitely to fill a hole. HOT, we didn't bring it up last time, but HOT disbanded very unceremoniously in 2001. It was a huge deal. Girls threw rocks at SM Entertainment and like broke windows, like vandalism. People were pissed. And then the members of HOT didn't talk to each other for like 12 years. So SM like just lost their boy group. Like very unceremoniously. So TVXQ comes out like 2 years later to again usher in a new generation of like, here's 5 more boys, like I hope you like them as much as the other ones, which people did because they went on to be like one of the most successful and popular groups of all time.
With the biggest, continue to be. Even as two separate groups, they continue to be like a force to be reckoned with. So that's like the very beginning. We got TVXQ. Also early on, Dynamic Duo, who we've talked about before, like doing cool raps. Trax is SM's rock band. Trax is upsetting to me. I didn't know much about them. I really didn't know anything about them. And then I watched that video that you included in your playlist, and they are like scary gothic vampires with very intense makeup. And like one of them is wearing like very colorful prosthetic nails, and it's very screamy metal. And I was upset.
Yeah. I just thought it was interesting to include because like they are SM. Like that was clearly some kind of experiment.
Strange.
Trax still exists. They recently added an extra X to their name, and they do EDM now.
Okay, I was
to
gonna
differentiate
ask
from the
you
previous
why.
tracks.
Okay.
Because now they are EDM, because no one wants screamo metal anymore. They want EDM. So that's what Trax is going to do. But that was interesting. Also, we got early 2005 SS501.
Yes,
A boy
I had never heard of this group before. It stands for Superstar Singer, 5 members united as one forever, which is a mouthful.
Yeah.
But I was into them. I really like they were sort of more like R&B ballady, which I really enjoy. I liked both of the songs that you included in that playlist, and I also read that they are in talks for a possible 2018 comeback.
Oh, that's cool because they were. That's one of the things that's pretty interesting about looking at this list of groups. Is like I said, in the first generation, groups are having an average lifespan of like 4 years. Like they're not lasting long. With the second generation, you either fall into the 7-year curse, which is like a thing where groups don't make it past 7 years, or a massive amount of this list ends in present. I have them at like whatever
They're,
to
like,
present.
still together.
They're
Yeah.
still together. So that's that's something that differentiates the second generation, is that I think the music industry had become enough of a thing that like people would be like, let's try to commit our lives to this. Whereas the first generation groups, it seemed like panicked and like this success can't last forever. Like we got to end this.
Yeah. And now there's a lot more like stability, I think. Once you reach a certain point in your career, I think.
But SS501 was only around for 5 years. So that would be cool if they came back. Later in 2005, we have Super Junior, which is a turning point in just the sheer number of members.
Yes. Because suddenly now Super Junior debuted with 13, right?
I think so. 10 or 13, like a lot of people. Super Junior confuses me because at the beginning they were playing with a lot of like subunity stuff in the same way that like NCT is currently. So I as not an elf, that's what Super Junior fans are called. I can't speak to like how that all worked out, but you suddenly have a group that's like double the number of members than you've ever seen before.
Yeah.
I assume this was an experiment of Lee Soo-man's to see if it worked. Because nobody had ever put out a boy band with more than like 5 people in it. Like why would you have so many? But it worked. It worked. People liked them. I feel like this is a good moment to bring up a very upsetting point in this beginning of the second generation hair wise.
Oh,
sorry.
Really didn't know where you were going.
No, I'm just talking about people having bad haircuts. Nothing serious. But yeah, what we've referred to several times as anime hair, where people's hair is just like cut into triangles, like so many triangles.
So many like chunky layers.
Yeah, so that like if it's full of gel and like spread out, then you look like a cartoon character where your hair's all been like drawn.
Dragon Ball Z.
Yes. And when Super Junior debuted, oh my God, their anime hair. Like, wow.
It's rough.
Wow.
I mean, TVXQ, like the leads, the blonde one, the leads, Junsu, had some like iconic anime hair for sure, because his was also blonde.
Yeah. So next in 2006, we absolutely like cannot talk about the second generation without bringing this group up, because they're like a pillar.
Yes, they truly are a pillar of K-pop, because they've set pretty much every record that exists.
And that group is Big Bang.
Yeah.
By the way.
We talk about Big Bang fairly often. Like,
Yeah, because you have to.
Yeah, because they set records in every category. Like, all of our concert tour episode basically was just listing the absurd number of people that have gone to Big
Albums
Bang.
was like album sales is all Big Bang.
And GD, G-Dragon.
Yeah.
Whatever. Either one.
You could call him GD, like your friends.
That's usually how it's written.
Yeah.
Like, people abbreviate it a lot. So like we've mentioned them many times, but in researching for this episode in particular to talk about like the impact of Big Bang, like they're pretty much cited from every source as being like the major influencers in the Hallyu wave, because second generation, like we said, is like the international spread.
Yeah, it's about that
K-pop.
wave, and Big Bang like are so much of that wave.
Yeah, they really pushed it out.
They weren't immediately a hit, which I was like surprised to find because I just assumed they were like automatically popular, but it took till their second album, I guess.
Yes, it's the 2006 debut album, Big Bang Volume 1, received lukewarm reception. But then they went on to just take over the world.
Yeah.
I mean, I read, let's see, where is it? Here it is. The quintet have sold over 150 million records, which makes them, and counting, obviously, because they're still together.
Right.
But that makes them one of the biggest selling boy bands of all time, which beats out Backstreet Boys and the Jackson 5.
And the Jackson 5. See, that seems really crazy because
Yeah,
music that's that old, like
has had like decades and decades to build those album
Yeah.
sales. And so for a group that hasn't been around for that long to like already have beat them out, that's crazy.
yeah, another, like, since we were just talking about fashion, like an interesting thing about Big Bang that I thought was cool is that they are credited with like sort of starting a more pop punk fashion, like where we talked in our last episode about like the 90s and the big sweatsuits and the like hip hop and the chains, and that somewhere in their beginning albums, Big Bang started having faux hawks and wearing Converse Chucks and skinny jeans and like, whoa, that's like a new thing.
Yeah, they set the style standard with pretty much every new comeback that they rolled out because Big Bang, like we've mentioned this many times, I know for sure, if you want to see crazy hair, like look up all of Big Bang because they've done it all.
Yeah. Their debut stage was really interesting to me as well because like G-Dragon was already known like when Big Bang debuted because he was like the child rapper from YG who was like on all their albums as a child rapper. And so their debut stage, he comes out with Top, right? And they like start singing a song and then this box opens and the rest of Big Bang comes out and he has to like introduce them. Like, these guys are Big Bang because they had to like,
introduce G-Dragon as now like part of this group.
This is my group now. And another thing that I thought was crazy in a kind of like Beatles way is that there was a guy, what was his name? Hyunsung, who was in the group until like a couple weeks before they debuted. Like there was a sixth member that like
and then he left right before.
Yeah. So like
out.
in that extra Beatle way, he like didn't get to be part of it.
Really missed the boat on that one.
Totally. Okay, keep going through the list. Brown Eyed Girls are 2006. Wonder Girls are pretty quick after that. Kara, so we've got some girl groups coming out. Then FT Island is 2007. This is another band. Like they play their instruments. That's interesting. 2007 is when Girls' Generation debuted. No one gave a shit about them for several years though. They did not blow up right away. I had never watched their debut stage before researching for this episode, and it's interesting that it took a while for them to catch on because their debut stage is very different, I think, in a lot of ways from some of the previous girl groups like Wonder Girls or Kara. Yes, those groups danced, but not in the way that Girls' Generation did especially in that debut stage. That song starts with a dance break, and it's a dance break that has pretty complex footwork. The dance goes on
like it's a constant level of choreography the entire dance from beginning or the entire song beginning to end. And it almost in some of the footwork and like arm motions reminded me of some of like G Friends style. Like it is an intricate dance that they are singing live through the whole time. And it's like because there's so many of them, they look very dance team-y.
There are 9 members of Girls' Generation if you were unawares. But so this was the first
like, girl group that had that many people in it.
You can probably infer that like SM tried their giant boy group with Super Junior. It didn't flop. So they were like, giant girl group. Let's see how this goes.
Yeah. But it had a very different presence on stage.
Yes.
Like to have that many people doing that level of choreography all at once had a very different like feel. So I'm not surprised that it like took a little while to catch on because it was pretty different.
Yeah. G was their first big smash. Their debut song is called Into the New World, and it's just like, it's cheesy. But it's like nice, and they're just like nice girls. And their second single was called Girls' Generation. We've never mentioned this on the show before, but their like Korean name is Sonishide, or SNSD. So sometimes you might see them referred to as that. It translates to Girls' Generation in like ancient Chinese or something. So that name didn't come out of nowhere, but they have like multiple names. But their second single was called Girls' Generation, and the music video, they're all wearing sweatshirts with their names and their birth year on it, like really, really big. So you can figure out who they all are.
That's like how EXO had jerseys for the first like 7 years of their. Just kidding, they've only been around for like 5 or 6.
Yeah,
the first several years of their career.
They wore their name. They had numbers and
they still do sometimes.
Oh, crazy. Let's see quickly. So 2008, like we have a lot to talk about, so I apologize for just like listing, but I'm trying to give us some context. 2008, Davichi debuts.
Oh, girl, that music video, we need to talk about it.
Okay.
Because what is happening in it? It's not subbed, so all of the dialogue that happens in it, like I did not get a feel. Okay. Davichi is a duo. They do mostly like R&B, like more like ballady
They
songs.
started out doing like sort of like trying to be pop artists. They have since like they are now like the queens of the soundtrack. They do drama soundtracks and they're great at it. But like at the beginning, they were like marketed as like a little like a girl duo, and they like dressed like twins on their like debut stage and whatever.
Yes. And so you included a music video in the research playlist called Don't Say Goodbye, which starts with a very long silent scene of some like nerdy looking dude looking through a telescope. And then as he's like walking back into his house, he hears something in the bushes, and then like there's a trash bag.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, is there going to be a body in the trash bag? And then he opens up the trash bag, and yes, there is
dead
a body.
Dead girl in the trash bag.
But she's not dead.
She's not? I guess I didn't finish the video. I must have been watching it passively.
She's not. We have to watch this right now.
Okay.
We have to watch this right now.
We'll be back. Hold on.
And we're back.
We're back. Wow. That was a really weird video. I'm really sorry. When I was researching, I must have just like looked away from this one to write notes because I heard the song, but I didn't see it. What a crazy music video.
It's very upsetting. A girl gets thrown away and then taken care of and then thrown away again. And by thrown away, I mean literally thrown into a trash bag.
Wow. That was super intense. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Moving down my list.
So how dare you include that? You didn't even. I'm sorry. I had to make Shannon suffer through that.
No,
because she made me suffer through it.
I know. I deserved it. I'm really sorry about that. Yay. Wow. So moving through our list of debuted second generation groups, Shiny, 2008. Hell yeah. Also 2008, 2 a.m. and 2 p.m. and You Kiss. So like 2008 boy bands. Like,
yep. the year of boy bands, and all kinds of different styles of boy bands too, which is fun. Like they're not all putting out the same kind of music.
Yeah. And then 2009 is like, again, like the debatable possible end of the second generation, but I'm going to mention them all anyway. In 2009, we get 2NE1, 4 Minute, After School, Beast, FX, M Black, and Tiara, which like, these are all groups that are, I mean, the last 5 that I mentioned are technically still groups. Like a lot of them are. So I think there's definitely a lot of differences between early TVXQ and like by the debut of M Black or whatever. So like, let's talk about some of those things using, again, our topics from previous episodes.
Okay. So
like, concepts at this time are interesting. Especially with the boy groups, you start to see something really specific happening around 2006, 2007, where before our Generation 1 boys are wearing their big baggy clothes and they're doing their hip hop music, and there's like a slight boy next doorness about them and a slight cool celebrity about them, whatever. But now these second generation boy groups, we've got like slick haircuts, makeup, so much makeup, and they're starting to show their bodies. Like in the first generation, you have no idea what any of their bodies look like because everyone is wearing the biggest clothes ever.
In Big Bang's debut stage, there's a part in the choreography where they all lift up their shirts and do like a quick body roll or something. And then TVXQ comes out with Neurotic and like the world explodes.
Yes. I was definitely going to mention Neurotic as for many reasons, but on the same note, Beast's debut music video, shirtless. 3 of them, no shirts on. You start seeing like mesh shirts and very low tops.
Even
and,
Shiny, a group that debuted very young, like by the time they get to Lucifer, Jeon Young is like showing off. I mean, he's not shirtless, but he's definitely starting to show more skin, like with that crazy shirtless vest thing he has.
Did you see?
I thought vest.
I thought it was super crazy. In 2AM's debut stage, Jo Kwon is wearing like a sleeveless tuxedo. He's wearing like a vest, like a very tight vest, but like absolutely no sleeves. And his arms are like jacked as hell.
Oh,
and
weird.
they're singing their like debut ballad song, but like showing the guns.
Yeah.
So
but there's a level of objectification that's happening in these groups right off the bat that was not present in the first generation for sure. I mean, girls and boys, I think, but maybe a little bit more so in the boy groups.
I think
right
definitely with the overt like sexuality and the skin showing, I think it definitely happened for the boys first.
But that's probably just as a response to like the fact that the large majority of fans for this genre of music is girls.
Yeah.
Teen girls. Teens and tweens.
But on a similar like topic, like Girls' Generation's concept was like supposed to be like very pure and very sweet, but also very like aspirational. And the way that like Girls' Generation always presented themselves stylistically was legs. They were just like always showing their
such
whole
short
legs.
Such short shorts and such short skirts.
Like they could be in full turtlenecks.
Yep.
On top, but like they're
like
showing
bikini bottoms on
all
the bottom.
legs, and they're just legs, and they did like so many dances in heels, like, and they also, when they did G, all of them are wearing different colored skinny jeans, which like started a massive fashion trend of colored jeans.
Yes, Shiny loves
Shiny did
jeans.
them then too, like that. Yeah, but that was like Girls' Generation gets credited with like spreading the skinny jeans. On sort of the same topic, music videos at the time are leaps and bounds better. People get rid of their camcorders, and I think digital cameras start to become a thing. So
just the amount of money behind the sets, like the just look of the stage that they're in, or the set piece they're on has
I feel like this is when
way higher quality.
When the real like classic box video that I think of so often comes into play. Like
we're not at Clicks at the mall anymore.
No, but there are a lot of mirrors, a lot of like jagged art pieces and like LED lights and strobe lights.
It's like that. I always think of whenever we've been talking about box videos, and it bothers me that it's because as soon as I leave here, it like leaves my mind, and so I don't remember to look it up. But I remember watching a like behind what was that MTV show or VH1 show of like the making of the video?
It was just called Making the Video.
It was just called Making the Video,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So I used to love that show, but they had one where they did one of NSYNC's, I think it was Bye Bye Bye, the NSYNC video, because isn't that the one where they are literally in a box that rotates?
Yes.
And so like part of the choreography has to be like them running around the box. Now we're getting into K-pop videos that have places that look like that box, that like light up and have the mirrors like you were saying, and I don't think any of them rotated, but that's the level we're getting to now.
And another important thing for this generation for music videos, YouTube becomes a thing in 2005.
Yeah.
So that changes a lot of things because now music videos are not only going to be seen on Mnet or whatever, like you can now look them up. And so as this generation goes on, the music shows and stuff start to having to adjust to counting YouTube views as like something that's worth counting. And speaking of things being like counted up, in 2004, Melon music becomes a thing. I don't know if we've talked about Melon before other than
I don't think that we have.
Just in possible, like in the music show episode, it might have come up as like a category for winning stuff.
We've mentioned like that someone has won like a Melon Award.
They have the Melon Music Awards is a big thing, but this is just it's a streaming service. It still exists today. It's an app. It's not available outside of Korea, which is weird and unfortunate. But there are plenty of websites where if you're like involved in the kind of fandom that's really into voting, people find like weird jailbroken, like, illegal ways to get Melon so that you can like help streaming or whatever. But it's really important, like in the charts to this day. It's like the service that most people use, like an Apple Music or a Spotify or whatever. And so the charts are very important because like a huge majority of the country like uses Melon as their music app. In 2007, a competitive app that also still exists, Genie Music became a thing. So now we have like we're getting like new ways to consume to consume the K-pop, which is interesting and important. Did you have any dances or favorite like choreos from this time that like caught your eye? Because one thing that I noticed for sure, which you already brought up, like with Girls' Generation, like the dancing has now been taken to like a different level from the first generation. And like I said in the last episode, the camera presence and the like hand motions and the faces that you like associate with cute K-pop, like that is a thing.
Yeah,
suddenly.
I feel like that has to be attributed to just the level of overall professionalism that gets ramped up in this generation, because now we briefly mentioned this earlier, how the training times are getting longer. The factory model is getting more sort of like laid out. Things are a lot more stable, and it's a lot more of like, okay, we're not necessarily still trying new things to figure out how this model is run. We've like got the machine up and running, and we're like using it to churn out several different things. So there's just an overall increase in the level of like polished product that is being released out into the world at this point. As far as favorite dances and stuff,
I think we might have brought some of them up on our dances episode, which is like makes this like weird, but like, because I don't know, like sorry is early, like that's and that was a thing.
I love SHINee's early dances. Like Love Like Oxygen is one of my favorite SHINee songs of all time, and that's a very early one. I of course love the Replay dance. Lucifer is like one of those iconically difficult dances.
But yeah, the level of like skill and the type of dancing has changed drastically since the like previous generation in this point
and
in
the
time.
intensity behind the training has been ramped up.
Absolutely. Because the kids that are like debuting in this time period, like were probably getting scooped up and starting to train like, you know, post HOT or whatever. So the groups the companies might have at that point, you know, sort of learned, which I think is, I want to talk about TVXQ for like a super long time now.
Great. We can talk about them forever.
But like just on that note of like the factory model and trying to like figure this out. So in 2009 is when the TVXQ lawsuit drops. And
which is how many years after their debut?
It is it's 6 years after their debut. So they did 6 years as 5. They got again, like I think we can get into this in this long promised like court battle episode, but basically TVXQ had found like massive success in Japan, and they were getting all kinds of offers from like Japanese record studios of like, we want to take you on, but they had all signed 13-year contracts with SM,
which is absurd.
3 of the members of TVXQ sued, basically saying that a 13-year contract is unbelievably ridiculous and like they should be let out of it to do what they want. The lawsuit went on for 3 frickin' years. It was rough and bad. But that like really kind of like shook the industry, because now it was sort of coming to be that like maybe the money was better outside of Korea. And like we brought up in the last episode, like the tension with Japan is not a joke. So like if artists are starting to get like richer in Japan, like
that's going to be a major problem for a lot of different reasons, not just capitalist reasons, but also sort of like national pride reasons as well. So companies are going to start taking it not going to start, but companies would take it very seriously for a variety of ways if their artists were suddenly trying to like leave them to go to international companies, especially Japanese ones.
Japan. But on a more fun note, like back before the hard times, you brought up TVXQ's Neurotic, which like has to come up. It's such a good song. Under my skin. Okay, so this song, when did it come out?
I don't know.
I think it's like right before the Troubles, but I feel like it's
it is.
I
think so
2008.
as well. Yeah, right before everything went down. And like I feel like I'm gonna get my like Cassiopeia card revoked if I keep talking 5-member TVXQ.
I know.
But I don't like the sound of all their voices. Like, we were just talking about how the level of professionalism gets, like, ramped up. But even in some of the earlier groups here, like, maybe not all of them were the quality of singers that I would argue many groups that
I think
nowadays,
as you go through through time in K-pop, everyone just gets like exponentially more talented.
And I really enjoy, like, Yuno and Changmin both have like sort of nasally voices, but I enjoy the sounds of their voices, and obviously like they've been doing this for like 15 years, so they're very good singers now. But I don't like the sound of the voices on the original recording of Neurotic. It's very grating to me.
Okay, that's fair. But the music video is iconic in like
the dance,
like we were saying before, like
iconically
it's got like
sexy,
and the boys are wearing not very much clothing, fur, makeup, shiny things. They're in like a cave of some kind.
I love cave.
But this song is interesting in that it was banned for being inappropriate. The album got like the equivalent of a parental advisory sticker on it. The album could not be sold to anyone under 19 years of age because someone at the government decided that the phrase "under my skin" is inappropriate for children. Don't ask me why. I don't get it. Because
it says the word skin, and
maybe,
that's too sexy.
And something's getting lost in translation.
I mean, it doesn't help that the dance and like visuals that go with this song are like floor humpy. But
yeah, which might have been like more behind the banning, but in order to try to get around this, SM had to re-record the song and like put out the child version in which they say "Under My Sky." No.
All right. No comment.
No comment.
No comment. TVXQ just continues to be one of the worst offenders in bad English.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. There was just like a lot going on. Like it was like everything everyone did was breaking records. Like this is just the time when it was all blowing up.
And most of these, like I quote unquote iconic moments we've already brought up in one shape or form, because as we said at the beginning of this episode, like this is the era that's known as the golden age of K-pop, not only because so many of these like very important groups were coming out in this time period. They were setting all of the records, but also for the first time, like you really have a level of explosion of internet accessibility that is like previously unrivaled or unparalleled.
Because we got YouTube in 2005, and then smartphones became a thing a couple years later, which then changes everything, because now you can have like apps.
Yep.
And then social media becomes a part of it, where it wasn't before.
So not only is the level of like professionalism rising up, the level of quality is increasing, but also now the level of fan dedication that can be reached is skyrocketing, because you have like hitherto unforeseen levels of access to the people that you love the most.
Exactly. Let's see. What are some more like second generation specific things? Some second generation specific TV shows that are not on anymore, where you would get to see a lot of your idols. There was a show called Star Golden Bell that started in 2004. And this was like a show where they'd get like a whole mess of idols, and they would sit in like 4 lines, and they would just like play team games and try to win money for charity. So lots of people would go on that show.
There were so many shows. The trend of Korean variety shows in this particular time period, and I don't know why they don't still do this, because I really like the concept of it. But basically you'd have like a show where on the stage, part of the stage has like essentially bleachers on it, and there's just a huge crowd of different idols and actors and like comedians and just a whole bunch, like 20 famous people that are was the guests on that
Strong
show.
Heart was like. And the point of Strong Heart was like, bleachers full of famous people, and then they would try to tell stories that will like stir your heart. So like watching those is crazy, because like there's like a particular episode that came up that like got resurfaced recently, and like all of this Me Too stuff of I want to say that it was like a member of Girls' Generation talking about like some creepy, horrible like executive who would like call her late at night and like, say creepy, awful shit to her. And like she's being very candid about it, but this was a long time ago, and like I feel like sometimes you think that like idols back then must have been more like reserved or like careful about what they said, but it seems like they weren't. And there was a bit more freedom. So yeah, these shows like Star Golden Bell and Strong Heart have like massive idol casts. Also a huge trend of the second generation. Like we said, at the end of the first generation, G.O.D. had their first reality show. And then reality shows is just a thing you can do.
Yeah.
Girls' Generation, like pre like 2011 or something, had like 6 or 7 reality shows. Like, because it's just a thing you can like throw together really quick. And nowadays, those things exist like mostly exclusively on the internet.
Yes.
But it's still like a trend to like get more access to your group and like see your group more. You just like slap together like they're going on vacation, or this is what it's like in their house, or they're taking care of a baby, or they need to make dinner. Like you give it a flimsy premise and then just film them, and everyone will eat it up.
You could pick like any of these second generation group names from a hat and probably name at least 3 different variety shows for them. Like Shiny was on, Hello Baby, One Fine Day, and I had a third one on the top of my head. Now I can't remember it.
Gorilla Date. No.
Oh, I was going to say We Got Married.
We Got Married started in 2009, I think. So like that's that's technically part of this generation. Yeah, so there's just like a lot more people are more interested in idols, so now it's taking up more of the entertainment space in general.
Yeah, and they're gonna have like they're gonna go on Running Man, or they'll go on like Dream Team. Like they'll have special. What is that Idol sports show that they did?
The Idol Sports
Olympics
Athletic
or
Championship.
Yeah.
I wonder when they started doing that. I want to Google that really quick. I want to know how long
that still
that's.
happen?
It still happens, but it's like a thing that like only like rookie groups go to, because people get really hurt at it a lot. And then like older groups like EXO, like this year, like Chanyeol bowled and like someone did archery, but like the fans would protest if they made all of EXO go again because Kai got really hurt one year. So people are like, don't make them run around, and they like, but the rookie groups, like the entire group goes and like has to compete in an event, but like as you get older or more established, it seems like you can be like,
do that shit
I want to
anymore.
do the bowling game, and like that's all I'm gonna do.
I'm just gonna bowl because I bought myself a special bowling glove.
We're talking about Chanyeol.
Yeah, he's a loser.
Idol Star Athletic Championship began in 2010.
Oh, that's second generation.
So that's
I take
third.
That back.
That's technically third.
I mean, that's what I
guess.
meant, third. Right, because EXO was such a big part of it.
But that's what's weird to me is that I feel like while all of the iconic, while all of the golden age groups debuted in this time period, I feel like a lot of their like biggest moments happened in the
During
couple
the
of
third
years
generation,
after that. Like they just debuted in the second generation, but like I don't know, so many things like the Cabby song and the athletic championships and like all of these things that we've brought up, those are happening in this like 2009 to 2013 window. That like no one can agree on what generation it belongs in.
I think, I guess because the groups that are, it's just between 2009 and 2013, there's this like extra little explosion of popularity. And I don't know if anyone has really like attributed that explosion to something specific. And a lot of because there were groups that had already debuted, like Girls' Generation or 2PM, but then there were also groups like EXO that had just debuted within that time period. That's where the confusion lies of like these three groups, let's say, for example, 2PM, Girls' Generation, and EXO, like they all experience a similar explosion in their popularity between 2009 and 2013. But like that's the time period in which EXO debuted. So they're debuting to like almost more immediate success. Whereas these second generation groups, they had to work for several years
I think
before they hit that boom.
That's totally fair. But yeah, it's just like, it seems odd to me, which I think I said in another episode, but it seems odd to me that you could ever say that TVXQ and EXO are in the same generation because there's so much time and so much change in the industry between those two things that they feel like they have to be different. But yeah, it's just one of those kind of wishy-washy things that doesn't really mean much. But it also means everything. So,
but maybe we could use that as like our criteria for different, or like our reasoning for like including EXO in like a different generation would be that the groups that maybe we consider to be quote unquote third generation are the ones that experience that more instantaneous level of success.
Yeah, perhaps.
Because they're coming out in an era in which like YouTube is already a big thing.
Right.
And so like the
And
international acclaim
fandom
is
exists.
already a thing. And whereas like the second generation, they were the groups that had to build that culture before their main like explosion of popularity.
I think that's totally a legit way to think of it.
Here. Decision made.
Gavel
Banged.
But it's really, really interesting to watch. Like, again, I think I will probably link my research playlist for this, because it's very, very interesting to see how drastic the change is, like, so quickly. Let's see. This is just a weird thing I wanted to mention, backtracking to like sexy concepts or whatever. I was honestly blown away by After School's debut stage.
Me too.
because I had just watched all these others like Kara's and Wonder Girls and whatever. Like they all sort of dress like cool mismatched high school girls. Like we said, FX dress, like green leggings and whatever. Like everyone just looks kind of wacky, but like kind of like cool girls, and they have weird hair.
Yeah, even to anyone had like that kind of thing, still of just a like cool but wacky, but like pretty covered up.
Yes, but then 4 minutes or after school, which I assumed, like, because maybe I just knew the Orange Caramel girls, I assumed
they had more of a schoolgirl image because of their schoolgirl concept where the groups can graduate. And then in this stage, it's like way more hip hoppy. They're wearing
booty shorts and bras.
And they're
in
like
the opening
sitting on
stage
with their leg.
Yes.
In the air. Shannon and I both just did it.
But she's sitting on the stairs in tiny white shorts, and while she's doing her opening song, lifts her leg next to her ear.
No.
Just like, here's my badge.
It's a close-up on her. All of them are doing it.
They all are doing it. Oh my
God. In the background. They're all just like, whiting, like leg up in the air. It's really bizarre.
It like really took me aback because I was like, I didn't think at that time you could debut wearing something like that and not be like chased down the street like, you slutty witches, like, go away.
I know.
Like, I was kind of, I mean, I'm very like, I'm not a slut shamer. I'm sex positive. It's all cool. But like, I was
it's just surprising how like, especially the conservative, like we were mentioning earlier with Neurotic, like it was much more common and acceptable for the boys to be like sexualized than it was for the girls. It still is today, I would argue, like much more acceptable for a boy to be like humping the floor than like, take Hyuna, for example. Like Hyuna gets criticized for literally everything that she does, but then like EXO's over here like humping
or you
the floor.
have like boys debuting with shirtlifty performances and no one says anything.
Exactly. Like the same choreography will get banned on a girl group that will be praised on a boy group. So misogyny is everywhere.
Yes, but I guess it is, and it's unfortunate. But I guess what I was like sort of getting at in bringing that up is that like as the time goes on, you start to see things getting a little more risque, probably in an appeal to the outside world of like, and we can be sexy and naked if you want.
I wonder how much of it also is a response to now that the K-pop industry has like been around for a while, you know, like those people, those fans who were initially listening to TVXQ when they first debuted, or like BoA when she first came out, now they're 5, 6, 7, 8 years older than they were when those bands initially debuted. So it's, as the fan base is maturing now, so too are the acts.
Yeah. But yeah, I was just honestly so surprised that like all the debut stages from all the girl groups on this list had like very similar on it, like teen crush, innocent concept.
Girl Next Door.
And yeah, that after school one just like, took me aback.
Yeah, it was surprising.
Yeah. So that's just a little crash course into the golden age of K-pop. Oh, wait, there's one thing I wanted to talk about. So like one last thing about this generation, like from an international fan perspective, something that I miss so desperately about this time is the patience that international fans had. If you watch all these variety and reality shows from this time that we were talking about, there used to be people who did the subtitles. Most things are still to this day subtitled by fans. But at this time, people, the love and care that went into the subtitling was unreal. People would credit the background music in the top. If people made puns, they would like explain it.
Yes. The subtitle will be on the bottom, and then the like cultural translator's note will be up at the top explaining the pun and why it's funny.
And why
like,
it's funny.
Those things are so beautiful.
Or like, as somebody who like has been learning Korean for a long time, like my husband and I love to watch old episodes of Running Man that were subbed in this way, because if you've never watched any Korean variety shows before, like what are you doing? Like, you gotta get on it. It's too important to the K-pop world. But
They're also
you'll
just
notice
highly entertaining.
Yeah, but you'll notice that there's like a ton of text on the screen.
Yes, that's the thing that caught me on, that took the longest to get used to, is how much of like appears on screen, like extra commentary about what's happening.
Yes.
And sometimes the subtitles are both subbing what is being said and what is written on the screen.
Right. And so back in these days, like all of that stuff was color coded, and people would then color code the English too.
Yep.
So that you could like connect it. And it like is really
There was
good for
so
learning
much
Korean
detail
because
in it.
yeah, and because of this, the international fans who want to watch the show, you'd have to wait a week for the episode. But you didn't mind waiting a week for the episode because someone was working hard to make it. And now these days, something's been online for an hour and people are screaming, "Where are the subs?" And so they get like very tackily and inaccurately like slapped onto things because everyone wants it right now. So I just sort of like miss the like patience and the care that like used to go into like subbing variety shows. And I love when I find like an old one that reminds me of that time. You're making a crazy face. What are you so upset about?
I'm just debating whether or not to make this comment because as a teacher, I have like, seen kids throughout the ages, and you can cut this out if you think it's too problematic, but I'm going to say right now that level of impatience comes from these damn kids these days that are this YouTube generation of just instant gratification. Oh, I don't like that video, I'll just watch another one, and they don't have to wait for anything, and so their attention span is much shorter, and that's why teachers' lives today are such fucking hell, because kids don't know how to work for anything or wait for anything, and now they're bitching about subs.
Oh, wow.
That's my angry, cranky old lady end of the school year teacher is tired rant.
I think that's nice. I love it.
Summer can't come soon enough.
I appreciated every once kids these days rant every once in a while.
That's mine. So I apologize to our younger listeners, but y'all need to learn to chill.
Chill out. Learn to be.
That's what I'm telling my 10-year-olds all the time. Like, can you just chill? You just need to sit there for a moment.
Wow. Well, that's a basic overview of the golden generation of K-pop. It will continue to come up like in this podcast many a time because so many of these groups are so important to the genre and to the history of K-pop, and so many of them continue to make albums and promote to this day. So they get to be part of our modern generation of K-pop as well. But we thank and appreciate all of them for like really laying the groundwork for the K-pop that we love today. So yeah, that's the golden era. It was good. And we will be right back with a golden era group for our random game. All right, we're back. And this week, our random group from the golden era is called 8. And this is spelled strangely.
Yes.
It's the numeral 8.
Uh-huh.
And then EIGHT, all smushed together.
Yes.
But they're not called 88.
No, they're just pronounced 8.
Yeah.
But they needlessly have both the number and the word.
Yeah.
And the number does not replace any of the letters.
In the
like
word.
in surprise.
5 prize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For prize.
For prize. Yeah, no, it's just called 8. This is a co-ed group, which is weird. That like there are like 5 co-ed groups ever, and like,
very
here's
few.
another one.
There
of
were
them.
a few in that first generation, more in the first generation than I think in any of the other generations. But we were laughing because there's not that much information on 8, but like one of the details that we found was that they won an award. I'm going to look at what is it? They won in 2009 the best mixed gender group at the MAMAs, the Mnet Asian Music Awards, which we mentioned a little while ago. And I just like they must have been the only one. Yeah, like who else? Anyway, they won for a song called Without a Heart, which is the one that we're going to watch.
Yeah, there's very little information about this group. It was like 2 boys, 1 girl, 2007 to 2014. Mm-hmm. It looks like they're ballad singers based on all the pictures we found of them. Like they're just gonna sing.
Yeah, their member profiles are very skimpy. It seems like today. Most of them are doing, or they're all doing like solo stuff. But they came out with quite a bit of music. I mean, they have 3 full albums, 2 EPs, and a lot of singles. But I don't think I know any of their music.
I don't think so either. We'll see though. So we're going to watch their music video for Without a Heart. Here we go.
Oh, she's crying already, so that's not a good sign. And presumably burning something?
Yeah, I see ashes and tears.
But are they happy tears or sad tears? Is she on fire?
Oh, rapping. That's not what I expected.
I didn't expect that either.
She has a creepy doll and a piano covered in candles. So far, very like goth and strange.
This feels very Phantom of the Opera. I wonder if the guys are in this music video at all. Oh. Question answered.
The piano spun around, and now there's a guy. But I also don't think that the girl is a member of the group. She looks like, I cannot remember what group she's from, but that looks like a girl group member. Like, I think this might be.
Are you thinking that all of the actors in this video are not actually the members?
It's very possible.
She did look way younger than that guy that just appeared.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I shouldn't. But I like recognize her. There's an episode of Running Man that Mino's on, and they do like a math race, and she's like on one of the teams, and she barely speaks, but everything she says is like hilarious, and it like made her popular. Like, but I can't remember which group she's from or what her name is. But I think that's her. But maybe she does just look like. No, I think that's her.
I mean, I don't know any of these members' faces, so
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you. And I don't recognize her. So.
I'm really creeped out by the doll she's holding. I don't like
This
it.
whole music video is weird. Like, why is she in an abandoned building? The doll is like dressed like her. Her skin is coming off.
Oh no.
Maybe she's a ghost.
I mean, this is like creepy Victorian, like doll.
She must
gothy
be
stuff.
like, she must be a ghost that's like trapped in this house. A restless spirit. Maybe she's a vampire. Well, she's disintegrating now that the sun is hitting her. So my current theory is vampire.
Yeah, that's probably right. And I'm almost 1,000% positive now that that is Sohee from the Wonder Girls. Wow. Well, yeah, it just sounds like that this 8 group is just doing your standard soundtrack, ballad, whatever.
With but not totally standard because that rap
Oh, right,
break
there was a rap point in it.
was unexpected. That was unexpected.
Yeah, that is interesting. Okay, just wanted to confirm. Sohee from the Wonder Girls, that's who that was.
Yeah.
Did it.
Good job.
Well, that was 8.
Yep, that was that. That was.
Do you have a recommendation for this week?
I sure do, but I think I went first last time. You go first
I know,
this time.
but I don't know what to say.
You're the worst.
I know.
Fine.
I like couldn't decide.
I'll recommend, because this is a song that I mentioned earlier, and it is a second generation. And because we don't recommend SHINee very often, my recommendation is a SHINee performance of Love Like Oxygen, but not from the year that the song came out. My recommendation...
when they redid it.
Yes. My recommendation is the M Countdown performance from 2015, which is 10 titled Bling Bling Shiny Shiny Fives Stage with like a bunch of exclamation points. It was for a special stage, but they performed Love Like Oxygen and they did it without the backing track because it had been like several years since the song came out and their voices have changed or like had changed since then. So they do the song and all the choreography, they sing it live and they sound so good. And that's one of my absolute favorite Shiny songs. So Shiny, Love Like Oxygen from 2015.
Great. Okay. I think I have too many things I want to recommend from this generation. So I'm just going to pick one. We talked about how we owe all of this to BoA, so I'm going to make it a BoA recommendation. There's a song by BoA called Only One. It's just like a nice little like hip-hop-y or R&B kind of song, but it has a really complicated dance, which we have brought up on the show before.
Yes, we brought it up in the choreography episode.
And the music video is cool because it's like I don't know if it's a single shot or not, but it's like
it's not a single shot.
It's a pretty steady shot of just the dance is the most important part of the video. But she also, every time she does this in concert, she does it with like a different boy from SM. So like you can watch Only One with Kai or with Sehun from EXO or like with some Super Junior members. Like she does it with all kinds of boys.
Has she ever done it with Yuno?
I bet. You know what? Let me Google that.
I'm a really hard
now.
BoA Yuno shipper. I really want them to be dating. I don't care if that's controversial.
Ooh, yes, it exists. We have to watch this right now. Okay, that's my recommendation. I'm gonna plug real quick so that we can watch this. Okay, so
Press
you can
play!
wait. You can find us at AMA Kpop Pod. Tumblr or at AMA Kpop Pod on Twitter and Instagram, amakpoppod.tumblr.com for all of our links. And if you want to send us an email, amakpoppod@gmail.com. We are still looking for questions for our next week's 20th episode. Any questions you have about anything we've ever talked about, any corrections, any omissions, do you want to tell us something? Do you want to ask us something? Whatever, send it to us so we can talk about it on the episode. That's it. We love you guys. See you next week. We're going to watch this BoA video now.
Play the 6-minute one.
Okay, I'll do the 6-minute one. Okay, talk to you all later. Bye-bye. Jonghyun, your inspiration. Mwah.